Let me give it up for a guy who I've tried to give rides before, and I've screwed up because my GPS hates me and he doesn't know where he lives. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the very funny Rex Isaacs. Give it up. Show me love.
Woo! Keep it going for Jerry Goebel. In fact, keep it going for all the comics you've seen tonight. They've done a fantastic job for you. It's very hard to get up here and do what we do. So, as I was driving in tonight, I noticed a billboard that amused me a great deal. And the billboard was for Holiday Inn Express, and their big ploy for getting you to stay with them was the fact that they had oversized shower heads. In fact, the billboard had a picture of a huge shower head, and the caption down below that read, "Forecast heavy showers." Now I'm thinking if they really want to attract more customers, maybe they ought to consider replacing some of those nasty mattresses they make us sleep on. Maybe the billboard should have a picture of a heavily soiled mattress with a caption below that says, "Our bedding has the lowest sperm count of any national chain." Today? Okay, either that joke really sucked or we don't have any Sally Struthers fans here in the audience tonight. Well, let's try this one out. In a recent scientific study, researchers have determined that excessive cell phone usage may be linked to a significant reduction in sperm count among men, which really isn't bad news for me considering I already have 3 kids and I really don't want any more. So what I've decided to do is I'm just going to take my cell phone and strap it to my testicles, which makes a lot of sense. It's a lot less painful than a vasectomy and I don't have to worry about adding any more family to my friends and family plan. Now, in a related story, researchers have also determined that a man's testicles drop an average of 1 millimeter per year after the age of 25, which is horrible news for me considering my birthday is on December 31st. So, as you might imagine, watching the ball drop for me on New Year's Eve takes on a whole new meaning. But I guess it could be worse though. I could have been born on Independence Day, you know, knee-high by the 4th of July. Recently read where a Colorado man was arrested for smuggling 4 pounds of methamphetamine inside an oversized Elmo doll. In response to the news, Hasbro will be introducing 3 new versions of the popular children's toy. There's Tweaker Me Elmo, which constantly shakes whether you're tickling it or not. Meth Lab Elmo, which comes complete with chemistry set and fire extinguishers. And last but not least, Crack Whore Elmo, which is very similar to other Elmo dolls, except this one does an entirely different kind of trick. Batteries are included, condoms are sold separately. Recently read where an Arkansas man has petitioned the court system to overturn a previous ruling that ordered him to pay his ex-wife alimony. His argument is he had undergone a sex change operation, and considering he was no longer a man, felt he wasn't obligated to pay his ex-wife alimony. After hearing the case, the judge found in favor of the wife, ruling that no matter the gender, there was still a financial obligation. The judge went on to say for all the man's efforts, all he really managed to do was go from having his balls in a vice to his tit in a ringer. So by a round of applause, do we have any registered sex offenders in the audience tonight? Registered sex offenders. No one? Did you know that there's a website you can go to that you can actually see maps where registered sex offenders live? Evidently how it works, for every red dot that appears on the map, that represents a registered sex offender that lives in your area, which can be really useful information. I mean, to my surprise, there were 5 red dots in my neighborhood alone. What really surprised me is when I expanded my search and pulled up a map of the United States. Turns out registered sex offenders have better nationwide coverage than AT&T or Verizon. I didn't know it very well. Well, since we're doing so well on the whole round of applause thing, let's participate a little bit more. By a round of applause, if you're one of my fellow cigarette smokers, sound off. All right, by a round of applause, let me hear from all the non-smokers. All right, now I hesitate to ask this one. The sound off, by a round of applause, if you're a former cigarette smoker who has now quit. You realize I hate you fucking people, right? I don't really hate you, I'm just more envious than anything else. I wish I could quit it for no other reason than to get my nagging daughter off my back. I mean, day after day, she's on me about my cigarette smoking. And she's relentless, she just wouldn't believe it. I have to say, she asked me a question the other day. She goes, "Dad, if you had all the money you spent on cigarettes over the years, what would you buy with that money today? And I don't know, this particular day I must have been in a bad mood or something. I just wanted to shut her up. So I said, well, sweetie, I would buy the finest quality drugs and the most desirable prostitutes on the planet. As I guess, I'd really irritated her. But I really ticked her off when I finished by saying, honey, I don't know why you're getting so mad. Besides, if it wasn't for drugs and crack whores, I'd have never met your mother. Folks, right or wrong, funny or not, the ex-wife jokes I do just for me. In fact, the only thing that would make that joke any funnier is if the fucking bitch were sitting right there to hear it. But she's not. Well, between the cost of cigarettes, my health in general, and my nagging daughter, I have decided to try to quit smoking for good. Thank you for your support. I appreciate that. For help, I logged on to one of those stop smoking websites. Unfortunately, all the options they had listed were either too expensive or took too much effort on my part. So I expanded my search a little bit and I stumbled across a website called 420.com. None of you are familiar with 420.com. Give me a fucking break. Well, and at any rate, 420.com is a marijuana smoking site if you guys aren't familiar with it. But as crazy as it might sound, they actually convinced me to stop smoking cigarettes for good. And all I had to do was switch to smoking weed. Seemed like a pretty good alternative to me. What I did is I compared all the options the Stop Smoking website had to offer against all the wonderful things that 420.com had to say about marijuana. And the choice was remarkably easy. Here's some of what I found. If you want to quit smoking cigarettes, you may have to rely on transdermal patches, nicotine gum, or even prescription drugs like Chantix. If you want to quit smoking marijuana, evidently all you have to do is just say no, according to Nancy Reagan. Nancy Reagan, what a fucking visionary, huh? Nancy, you will be missed. Did you know that there are over 4,000 chemicals and additives found in cigarettes? One little known additive found in cigarettes of all things, dog urine. Urine is supposedly added to cigarettes to enhance flavor. Now, thankfully, the only time marijuana ever comes into contact with urine is when the user attempts to flush it down the toilet to avoid law enforcement officials. Anti-smoking organizations have stated on several occasions that cigarette smoking is so dangerous, they liken it to putting a loaded shotgun in your mouth and pulling the trigger. Now, you cannot offer up the same analogy to a pot smoker, because if you offer a pot smoker a shotgun, they're likely going to take you up on it every single time. Cigarettes held in the traditional manner between the index and the forefinger may leave a brownish discoloration on the skin. Marijuana cigarettes, or joints, or as all the kids are calling them, marijuana cigarettes held in the traditional manner allow smoke to roll freely with little or no discoloration. Cigarette smoking has been attributed to loss of appetite. In contrast, marijuana smoke stimulates appetite, and when added to sauces and baked goods, are sure to be a hit at any social gathering. Secondhand smoke is a major issue with cigarette smoking, and equally so with marijuana smoke. Well, that is until the contact high kicks in, and then, hey, really not so much. And the last fact I found is that tobacco companies spend over $34.1 million a day in advertising, which ultimately the smoker pays for. Marijuana has spent $0 in advertising, yet has attracted 14.1 million customers in the U.S. alone with one simple catchphrase. That's good shit. Anybody want to join me in quitting smoking now? All right, I was told I could close the show tonight if I did this particular bit. I haven't done it in a long time. It's been a good bit for me and a bad bit for me all at the same time. But I have to get up here on my soapbox, and I have to kind of tone the show down a little bit. And a topic I want to cover tonight would be racism. Everybody sit back for the ride. Over 400 years ago, white landowners sanctioned ships to travel overseas and capture African men, women, and children for the slave trade. They were brought back in the hulls of those ships in nearly unsurvivable conditions. The weakest of the slaves, who didn't perish on the journey back to America, would soon die on the plantations, leaving the strongest and the smartest of the slaves to survive and, of course, reproduce. The simple truth is, the white man is largely responsible for genetically altering this group of people, who several generations later have become known as the African American race. Arguably, they are some of the most talented, athletically gifted, and trend-setting people on the planet, with a voice more outspoken and with greater influence than any race known in our nation's history, therefore proving my theory that the repressed will prevail. Now, you have to admit that's all very thought-provoking, especially coming from me, considering I normally just get up here and talk about my dick. You enjoying the show so far, sir? Now, don't get me wrong, I am not making light of what happened to African slaves. What they had to endure was horrific. However, based on the theory that I just presented to you, I believe there's another group of people who would benefit greatly from a little, shall we say, genetic altering, which is why I propose the President of the United States simply overturn all laws that abolished slavery in the 1800s, allowing slavery to once again thrive in our country. However, this time there would be one key difference. Only African Americans were allowed to be slave owners. Now, I hesitate in telling you who I think the slaves should be in this case, because there might be some of those people here in the audience tonight. And quite frankly, I'm allergic to getting my ass kicked. However, I will offer you up some hints to who these people are. These people reside near our southern borders and are known for their proud heritage and their fiery passion. They are also known for having extremely large families and recently have been linked to the financial burden on our country's welfare system. What sickens me the most about these people is the complete lack of respect they have for the American flag. In fact, they proudly display their own flag on American soil whenever possible. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, he's going to say the Mexicans. He's going to say the Mexicans. No, you couldn't be more wrong. Could not be more wrong. No, the despicable group of people that I'm referring to are simply known as white trash rednecks. We are fucking lousy in them, and they have to be stopped in our lifetime. Now, being that I come from a family of white trash rednecks, I have a little insight to their behavioral patterns and tendencies. So with that being said, I have devised a few simple rules and guidelines in which today's African Americans, and evidently now slave owners, will need to operate the modern day slave trade. Rule number 1, to qualify to be a slave owner, you must be African American. You will be responsible for changing the behavioral patterns of the white trash redneck with the ultimate goal of one day setting them free to become a productive member of society. Rule number 2, slave auctions will no longer be allowed. Therefore, you'll be responsible for the capture of your own slaves. However, this should be a rather easy task. Now, given that most black men do not own pickup trucks, simply make sure your Escalades or Navigators have a good, strong trailer hitch, pull into any mobile home park, hook on, and drive off with your newfound slaves. To ensure the optimum number of slaves per capture, you may consider waiting until Monday or Friday evening during the broadcast of WWE Wrestling, at which time you should be able to capture the entire family and possibly a few friends and neighbors. Rule number 3, you, the slave owner, are not allowed to abuse, torture, or kill a white trash redneck slave. Given that most white trash rednecks are Dale Earnhardt Jr. fans, simply dress your insubordinate slave in a Jeff Gordon hat and t-shirt, sit back and watch the fun begin. Surely his own family members will beat him for you till he becomes more cooperative. Although the white trash redneck is considered a slave and has no expectations of being paid, it is recommended that you pay them a nominal wage so they may learn to manage money. Unfortunately, their current idea of achieving the American dream is either hitting it big with scratch-off lottery tickets or having enough children to qualify them for government assistance. Rule number 5, female slaves may only wear belly shirts provided they actually have a belly and not a gut. It seems that most female slaves believe that stretch marks and belly buttons that look like sock puppets are quite attractive. I can assure you they are not. Rule number 6. Well, let me see. Where was I at? Rule 5, Rule 6. This is dating all over again.
No, it's not.
Rule number 6. Should you, the slave owner, decide to have sexual intercourse with your slave, and she bears a child, paternity testing will be done discreetly, in a medical facility by a licensed physician, rather than the redneck way of going on national television and waiting for Maury to tell you you are the father. And last but not least, rule number 7, there will come a day when your slave is ready to rejoin and contribute to society. You'll know this time is right when you hear words like checkmate rather than Yahtzee. And freedom certainly must be granted if you hear phrases like, I don't know what Jeff Gordon's sexual preference has to do with the outcome of the race. I just hope the best man wins. All right, now I'll get off my soapbox. Hey, Will, should I finish him up with some dick jokes?
Do it.
Dick
Do
jokes?
it.
All right. Let me get a drink first, because this is a long one, too.
Swallow.
I took it, baby. Recently, a man from Eastern Europe has undergone the first successful penis transplant surgery. Now, I didn't say implant, folks. I said transplant. Now, how much do you actually have to enjoy sex that you would be willing to have another man's penis surgically attached to your own body? Sure does bring a whole new meaning to the phrase, I wouldn't fuck her with your dick. I would have to wonder just how it is you get on that particular donor waiting list. I mean, would the DMV have to start putting pictures of tiny little penises in the donor section of your driver's license? Not to mention, transporting a donor penis to the hospital would prove to be rather difficult, because I can assure you this is one body part that will not do well packed in a cooler of ice. I mean, could you imagine if penis transplants actually became a marketable item that you could special order? The demand would be overwhelming. One thing is for certain, though, no one would be ordering penises that were made in China. This is one economic market that the Asians will not be dominating anytime soon. Now, if I were to ever consider a penis transplant, mine, of course, would have to be imported from Africa. And if Africa were to start exporting penises, I'm sure they'd go from a third world country to a superpower in less than a week. Well, I'm sure elective penis transplant surgery is probably years away. I mean, they would have to do testing, determine all the side effects and warnings that would have to be issued to the public. Which actually got me to thinking, with all the disclaimers and warnings and side effects and everything we're exposed to today, why is it that no one's thought to put a warning label on a man's penis? I mean, seriously, you'd think with something so widely used it would come with some sort of directions for use or warnings, particularly if you're a first-time user. I mean, I think at birth, before you're ever allowed to leave the hospital. We okay over there? I think at birth, before we're ever allowed to leave the hospital, some sort of directions for use or warnings ought to be tattooed right on the side of it. And they wouldn't really read all that different than the warning labels we're used to seeing on the products we use every day. And by the way, in case any of you guys are wondering, I'm not a prop comedian, so this is going to have to represent my penis. And I'm not going to try to stand here and tell you that it's actual size, because in reality, it's only a 1/16 scale. What are you laughing at, sir? I'm fairly confident you have never seen my dick. Now, your girlfriend, on the other hand. At any rate, for all you novice users here tonight, I suggest you probably take some notes, because I believe this is how the penis warning label will read. Package contains the following items: 1 penis, 1 scrotum, 2 testicles, no further assembly required. Average size, 6 to 7 inches in length. Actual size and shape may vary due to ethnic background, environmental conditions, and/or religious beliefs. Recommended dosage: this product should be taken by mouth at least twice daily or symptoms persist. For those users who suffer from severe gag reflex or have difficulty swallowing, although not as common, this product has been proven to be an excellent suppository. I was waiting for the groan. There's always one in the audience that groans. I'm sorry. This product is intended for internal use only. Allergy warning: package may contain nuts. Avoid spraying in eyes. As always, when using potentially dangerous equipment, you should consider wearing protective eyewear. Keep out of reach of children. If under the age of 18, refer to your state statutory requirements prior to use. This product is not intended for use with members of your own family, unless, of course, your second cousin is extremely hot, in which case disclaimer void in Arkansas, Tennessee, or Kentucky. And lastly, do not use this product while consuming large amounts of alcohol. Common side effects are unwanted pregnancy and loss of respect for yourself in the morning. I'm Rex Isaacs. Thanks, guys.
Oh, thank you, Rex. Thank you. You guys have been a great crowd. I'd like to bring up both Ryans, Eli, Steven, Jerry. Come on up here for a second. Oh, don't clap yet. You don't even know what's going on. This has been a crazy night. We were pushed back half an hour, and I'd like the comedians here to show some appreciation for you guys for sticking around. So this is for you guys. Thanks for sticking around. If at any time you guys feel like you can do some comedy, I'll be free to give you some time next month. Hit me up. I've got little postcards, stuff like that. Get a hold of me on Facebook. I'll give you time next month. Other than that, have a good night and have a safe trip home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Sell merchandise.
You get a brew bracket, shot glass, or a Dasani water bottle.
Thanks, Lefty. No, I appreciate the time. I appreciate it.